I am Wilhelm Helsingius, and I have psychology and cognitive psychotherapy degrees. Welcome to episode 2 of the Love Unconditionally handbook. This section begins with something deeply human, our quiet attempts to soothe the unrest inside us. We live in a time where isolation has become more common, and with it, a deeper sense of vulnerability. So we search for something to fill the space. Something that calms the ache of loneliness. The absence of real and mutual connection. Often, we reach for things that promise relief, but leave us feeling even more unwell or more far away from what we actually need. Dependencies can form easily, especially when the goal is to silence stress, to hush the hum of anxiety. And today, more than ever, adults are slipping into addiction. It doesn't always look the way we think it will. Sometimes it's social media. Sometimes it's exercise, sugar, shopping, sex, video games, porn. Even just the phone in our hand. When we begin to look at this, our habits, our health, our behaviors, and relationships, we're faced with something that goes deeper. How do we meet our deeper emotions and needs? How did others meet us when we were hurting? Or when we didn't get what we needed? And I ask you, what happens in you when your needs are not met? And how do you behave in that moment? How do you relate to yourself in that situation? These aren't just background questions. They're central. Because they shape how we are, how we function, and how we relate to others. Any true understanding of our health, mental, physical, or how we behave, must consider the emotional environment. And how we cope when our needs aren't met. Because when our emotional needs go unmet, the brain doesn't rest. It stays alert and scans. It braces for danger. It can't stay present or stay connected. And a brain under stress can't reach the deeper emotions, can't feel compassion or hold space for others. It struggles to learn, to understand or remember, even to think clearly. Are we remembering this? In our homes, our relationships, our schools, and workplaces? Are we truly taking this into account? And here's a question to carry with you. What does a stressed brain's limitations mean for your relationships and for your own life? Let me say it again, because it matters. When emotional needs are unmet, the brain remains in a stress state. And in that state, we can't connect. We can't feel or need on a deeper level. We can't truly take in what's being said. So what does that mean for everyday life? Could it mean this? If we want someone to hear us, to really hear us, we might need to make sure they feel safe first. Could it mean that how we say something matters more than what we say? Could it mean that we pause and ask, is there something in the way I'm speaking that might feel unsafe to the other person? Next time you're tempted to think, they just don't get it, could you gently ask yourself, is there something I can shift, in tone, in timing, in posture, that might help this person feel a little safer? A little more accepted? I'll share something with you. As a child, I struggled with severe dyslexia. Learning was hard. School was harder. I went through assessment after assessment. No one ever asked how I was feeling or if there was something I would have needed. No one asked how I was doing inside. And this was just after I'd lost my father. The person I loved most in the world. There was no one who made me feel safe. No one who was truly there. I tried to please. I thought that if I made people happy, maybe someone would see me. Maybe someone would care. But I learned nothing in school. I didn't retain what was taught. I felt socially lost, scared, and shut down. I couldn't say no. I couldn't stand up for myself. And every time I tried to show even a flicker of my real feelings or needs, someone would shut me down. With anger. With control. With superiority. It felt like trying to lift my head above water only to be pushed back under. So I gave up my feelings. I gave up my needs. They were too dangerous to have. And eventually, even joy, even hope, became risky. Because needing anything meant risking conflict. And conflict terrified me. So all my energy went into survival. Into finding safety. Into anticipating the next blow, even when no one else saw it coming. If someone had asked how I felt, I wouldn't have known how to answer. And this is important. Just because someone can't express a feeling or their needs, doesn't mean their emotional needs are being met. Years later, I asked my mother why no one had helped me after my father died. She said, "You always smiled. You seemed happy." But that smile? It was my shield. My way of coping. Smiling helped others feel safe around me. And I believed that if they felt safe, maybe I would be, too. But inside, I was drowning. I was scared. It might seem strange. A child who laughs or smiles, even in the face of fear. But if we pause and see it through the child's eyes, we might begin to understand. Smiling, wanting to play, laughing, these can be ways to stay safe. To lessen the threat. To protect oneself in the only way a frightened child knows how. This way of coping often follows us. I also carried it with me. Even when I was offered what I had longed for in a relationship, the closeness, the care, it frightened me so deeply that I pulled away. Because if you've gone too long without having your emotional needs met, it can feel overwhelming, even unsafe, to finally receive them. In relationships, this can show up as doubt. We feel discomfort and assume we've chosen the wrong person. That someone else might make things easier. But sometimes, that discomfort isn't about the other. It's about fear. The fear of needing too much. The fear of letting someone in. The fear of being seen, and maybe not accepted. It's easier to think the problem is the relationship, or the partner, or even ourselves. Easier than facing what truly scares us, especially now, when so many of us long for lasting love but struggle to create it. To build something steady and safe, where both people can meet each other, in the places that matter most. If you want a healthy relationship, you need patience and the willingness to sit with the discomfort that arises when old wounds are touched. So allow yourself to be slow and vulnerable. To need time. To have your needs. To be accepted with all your shortcomings and the wounds you carry inside. And to really be safe. You're allowed to need those things. Because without emotional presence, true vulnerability, or without a deeper sense of safety, real connection, acceptance, and care, your relationship becomes hollow. No matter how many people you love, or how often you start over, it will not bring what you're truly looking for if you can't allow yourself to be present, honest and vulnerable, and in contact with your deeper needs, and to share them, not to demand they be fulfilled, but to help others to understand. To return to my own story. No matter how many assessments I went through, no matter how good the support was for my learning difficulties, none of it helped. Because my emotional needs weren't met. I was scared, stressed, in survival mode, and nothing truly landed. Until I began to feel safe. Until I started to understand what I needed, emotionally. And when that happened, something shifted. Learning became easier, even enjoyable. And slowly, I began to see something else. The aggression I had faced, from those I depended on, wasn't about me. It came from their own shame. Shame rooted in their childhood. Shame born from emotional neglect. Their aggression and demands was a way to hide their helplessness. Later in this handbook, we'll talk more about how shame and helplessness can turn into anger or aggression. Turn to hardness, coldness, and demandingness. But I want to say this now. The fact that my father ended his life was not the deepest wound I carried. The deepest pain was the inner stress of adapting to a world where my emotional needs were never seen, never held. What is trauma, really? Trauma is not what happens to us. It's what happens inside us when we don't get what we need. If we're never helped to see how we've adapted, never helped to feel what's been buried, then those unhealed adaptations can lead to illness, to burnout, to emotional stress, to a quiet sense of collapse. What starts to heal us are moments where we feel truly seen. Moments of being safe, enough to feel and need. Moments of forgiving, acceptance and love. Perhaps for the very first time in our life. Trauma is often called an inner wound. It's not just about what happened, but about what was missing when we needed it most. There are two main sources of trauma. One is harm that happened to us. The other is the absence of what we needed. Both can hurt us deeply. And when we grow up in toxic environments, marked by coldness, silence, control, harshness, or emotional neglect, the wound can run even deeper. We adapt to survive. But sometimes those adaptations become the very source of pain later in life. Why? Because to adapt, we had to leave parts of ourselves behind. Our feelings, needs, and our voice. And even if those parts feel distant now, they're not gone. They're waiting to be met. When we suppress our emotional truth for too long, the result is often to an inner stress and a quiet kind of suffering, one we can't quite explain or grasp. Dr. Gabor Mate speaks of this in Attention as a conflict between two essential needs: the need for attachment and the need for authenticity. Attachment is our need to belong, to be seen, to be loved, to feel connected. It shapes us and our relationships. All of them. Authenticity means being real, true, and loyal to yourself. It's about not playing a role. Not trying to be someone you're not, just to fit in, or be liked. To be authentic is to feel and stand by your own values. To respect your needs, your intuition, and what you feel on a deeper level. It's a kind of inner honesty. Not just with others, but with yourself. And sometimes, these two needs come into conflict. If expressing who you are means losing connection with someone you depend on, then the cost of authenticity feels too high. So what do? You hide it. And slowly, you hide yourself. Because attachment is not something you can turn off. But authenticity, you can. And many of us have had to turn it off. Turn them off. What are the different ways we learn to attach? And can you recognize yourself in one of them? Secure attachment. You feel okay with both closeness and independence. You can ask for support when you need it. And you're not afraid of emotions, your own or someone else's. You trust that you matter. You can show who you are and let others in. In everyday life, you can say, "I need you right now," without shame. And you can give space without feeling pushed away. Avoidant attachment. You've learned it's safer to rely on yourself. Closeness can feel overwhelming. Needing others might feel like weakness. So you stay at a distance, even when you long for connection. In everyday life, you might say, "I'm fine," when you're not. You avoid emotional conversations. Or pull back when someone gets too close. Anxious or ambivalent attachment. You want closeness, but you're not sure if it's safe. You worry you might be too much, or not enough. So you try harder. You feel deeply, but the fear of being left is always there. In everyday life, if someone doesn't reply, you might feel panic. You want reassurance. And you try to fix things fast before they fall apart. Disorganized attachment. You want connection, but at the same time, you're afraid of it. Getting close feels unsafe. Being left feels unbearable. You may carry a history of trauma or chaos. In everyday life, you might suddenly shut down or cling tightly without knowing why. Big emotions can take over. Shame, fear, anger. And relationships can feel confusing and unsafe. So, how was it? Did any of these touch something in you? Can you pause for a moment and really ask yourself, what or who is it that made you function the way you do? Do you see how it may have shaped you when you didn't have the chance to rest in safe attachment? Can you see how it has left traces in your life? How it still shows up in your relationships, in your sense of connection, in how you move through closeness and distance. And may I gently invite you to do 3 small tasks if secure attachment wasn't something you got to grow up with. Task 1. Would you be willing to write a letter to the person or people who couldn't offer you a safe and secure attachment? Maybe they even gave you the opposite. And maybe there's anger in you. A rightful anger that needs space. That needs a voice, a way to be expressed. Without shame. Without fear of being too much. Just you, speaking your truth. For your own healing. Not to hurt anyone, but to finally give voice to what's been held in for too long. But don't post the letter. This is just for you, or a way to finally express everything you've kept inside. Don't hold anything back. Say what you truly feel, with no filter. You can trust that no one will read what you write. Nothing will happen. No one will get hurt or punish you, no matter what you say. If you end up yelling in the letter, it's not to tear anyone down or paint them as evil, it's to honor what you feel, to acknowledge what you needed, and to stop shrinking yourself just to survive. Once you've released everything you've been carrying, you'll be ready for the next step. Task 2. Now, would you be willing to write a letter to the part of yourself that lived through all the things that shaped you into someone who feels small, who struggles to exist fully, or who carries guilt or shame for simply needing something? Write a letter filled with compassion, understanding, and love. No criticism. Only the kind of care and warmth you didn't receive, but so deeply needed, in those hard moments. Let this be the letter that speaks to the part of you that suffered. What you felt and needed was 100% valid. You were right. The situation was wrong. Task 3. Each night as you lie down to rest, practice forgiving yourself. No matter what your thoughts may say, this might be one of the most important things you can do. If you still can't forgive yourself for your helplessness, for doing your best even though nothing changed, and for all the situations that have arisen because of the insecurity within you. Then healing becomes harder. Because without that forgiveness, it's difficult to let go of blame, shame, and self-criticism. To release the pressure and to reconnect with the deep sense of safety that has always been within you. A safety you had to disconnect from, or abandon, because the world around you felt too unsafe, too demanding, too unpredictable. But now, each night, you're invited to return to yourself, to the safety and love that have always been within you, and that no one can ever take away. With compassion, love and forgiveness. One breath at a time. Try not to expect any change. Just do the exercise as a routine, like brushing your teeth every morning and evening. Try to keep an open and accepting mind. And after a while, when you least expect it, you might notice a shift, small but meaningful. When you feel like you might be ready, you can try, but gently, to also forgive those who caused your pain. Those who couldn't give you what you needed. Those who, perhaps, treated you unkindly. Or maybe even with cruelty. But only if you feel ready. You can't force your way through this. You can't perform it, or quick fix it. This is an invitation to meet yourself, fully vulnerable, fully present. Honest and open, bringing nothing but your genuine willingness to offer unconditional compassion, understanding, love and forgiveness. Feel into it. Where is the wound that still aches? What part of you still longs for love, forgiveness, and understanding? So that you can, in turn, forgive, understand, and love those who once hurt you. Try to see your pain as a light that gently shines on the parts of you that still need more love and understanding. There is a measure, a quiet sign of how far you've come in forgiving yourself. It shows in how deeply you can forgive those who hurt you. Those who couldn't give you what you needed most. I hope you allow yourself to do these exercises, if you haven't already. And can you also ask yourself, what would you emotionally need to begin functioning in a different way? A way that makes life a little lighter. That allows you to be who you are. Without carrying guilt. Without feeling shame. Here are some practices you can try. You can explore them with your current partner, or simply in your mind, with the potential partner you may one day meet. Bring them to mind, and practice from there. With presence, with care, and with the same intention as if you were physically with them. If you're not in a relationship right now, you can still do these practices with someone you find it hard to connect with, or you wish you had a better connection to, as long as they feel safe to be around. Let's begin. 1. A quiet check-in with yourself. What do I need right now? When? Before you step into a challenging situation, where you feel emotionally vulnerable, with your partner, or someone else who holds a meaningful place in your life, or before a conversation that may feel uncomfortable, frightening, or stir up strong emotions. Something that touches your shame, your vulnerability, or the places within you where fear still lives. In what way? Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, softly, what do I need right now, in this moment, this situation, this relationship? Is it closeness, or a stronger contact? Space and understanding? Compassion and validation? To be heard and respected? A deep sense of safety and trust, without conditions. It's hard to express your needs if you're not in touch with them first. This practice helps you sense what's true for you, and stand by it, without self-judgment, guilt, or shame. 2. If I felt completely safe and loved. When? In moments when you feel triggered, provoked, threatened, or insecure. When you want to pull away. Or when shame rises. And maybe takes the shape of drama, of distance, or confrontation. In what way? Ask yourself, if I felt completely safe and loved, what would I do right now? How would I respond, to myself, to the other person? This helps you open to new ways of relating. Not led by old fears or defenses, but by something softer, more grounded, more accepting, more true. 3. Safe closeness and presence. Eye contact for 30 seconds. A moment with your partner, or someone who feels close and safe to you. Try to create space for that, even once a week, if possible. In what way? Sit facing each other. Hold eye contact for 30 seconds to a minute. Without speaking, or letting your thoughts take over. Just be there, fully, with yourself and the other, connected. Notice what happens within you. Maybe you want to look away, that's okay. But practice staying. Don't give up, do not let your shame win. Whatever your thoughts tell you, whatever feelings arise. Don't hide. Don't run. Let yourself be seen. You are worthy of being seen, accepted, and loved, just as you are. Being present in this way, and allowing yourself to be seen, makes you vulnerable. But it is deeply healing. 4. You can put your hand on the heart, and be wherever you can rest alone or together. When? When lying close to your partner, or resting quietly on your own. In what way? Place your hand over your heart. Or ask your partner to do it for you. Tell yourself, I am enough. I am worthy. I'm allowed to receive what I need. I'm allowed to feel closeness, safety, and love. I am not alone. Nothing is threatening me now. And if something does threaten me in the future, I will meet it. Because I am, and I have all I need to manage and to be okay, whatever may come. This changes your programming, your inner insecurity, or helps you reconnect with the safety that has always been within you, but that you lost touch with. The change won't happen all at once, but little by little. It strengthens your sense of safety, connection, and attachment. If you're wondering what I mean when I say, because I am, I say it as the opposite of shame. Because shame whispers that you're not allowed to be, that you must hide, shrink, or disappear. 5. Reflect together, small steps towards safety. When? Once a week. Maybe on a Sunday evening. In what way? Gently talk with your partner or someone important to you. Keep it short. Keep it warm, with care and compassion. You might ask, when did I feel a little safer in our connection this week? What did you do that helped me feel seen, safe, or loved? What would I like to keep practicing? What do I want to nurture so it can grow stronger and become more present in my life and in ours? 6. Can you find a mirror and stand in front of it? Try to meet your own gaze. I truly mean it. Gently allow yourself to be fully seen. And be there with yourself. I understand, it's not easy. Not when you're carrying a heavy load of shame. Take the time you need. But don't give up. Until you can meet your own gaze with your whole presence and being, totally naked, without any explanations, excuses, or ways of protecting yourself from being seen. Let yourself be totally seen, open, vulnerable, and just as you are. Tell yourself, with your whole presence, I love you. Do it for real. I mean it. Do it with your full presence and wholehearted. Allow yourself to love yourself. It's not selfish. And it's not strange. It's what everyone does when they've received the unconditional emotional care they needed. When they had someone who loved them unconditionally. Now, we can return to the everyday moments. Can you stop? As if you've just hit a concrete wall. The moment you notice yourself acting from a place of insecure attachment. Then, try to shift. Try to respond in the way you would if you felt completely safe, loved, and deeply aware that you are valuable, and that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Nothing will change unless you practice, and practice again. Analyzing things isn't enough. Self-compassion is absolutely essential, but it's through practicing and laying down small but meaningful stones that real change begins to take shape. It's how you find your way back to who you truly are and finally feel at home and loved in that person. Remember, it was not your fault. You might believe you know that already. You might even say it out loud, it wasn't my fault. But still, let me tell you again, with care. It wasn't. There's often a part inside that carries blame, or guilt, quietly. A part that hides in the background. A part that has the form of a more hidden kind of shame. Hard to recognize, easy to overlook. And yet, it is there. If it weren't, you wouldn't be facing the challenges you do now. What truly matters is the here and now. You. No one else. Hold the keys to the door that allows you to fully be the valuable and wonderful person you are. Early attachment matters. Some of the deepest emotional wounds are formed in the very first years of life. The first 3. That's when the foundation is laid. That's why I believe every new parent should be offered gentle, meaningful guidance, not just in how to care for a child, but in how to reflect on their own story. Because how we were met emotionally, or not met, shapes how we meet our children and the ones that are important for us. In traditional cultures, young parents, especially mothers, were held by the village. More experienced women stood beside them. They offered practical help, and maybe more importantly, they offered emotional support. They cared, and they did know what the young mother was going through. They made space for feelings, for helplessness to be okay, for fear to soften and turn into courage, for support in building the bond, the connection. When a mother cannot provide secure attachment for any reason, it becomes vital that someone else can. A father, grandparent, caregiver, or a friend. Because what matters most isn't who gives the child the secure attachment they so deeply need. It's that someone does. The impact of attachment. Those early moments, the way a child is held, seen, or attuned to, listened to, responded to, they echo across a lifetime. If the person caring for a child is overwhelmed, disconnected, or emotionally unavailable, even because of something as simple as a mobile phone, the child may begin to adapt in ways that later take the shape of anxiety, distrust, fear, or numbness. Secure attachment isn't complicated, but it is profound. It means the child learns. My feelings and needs matter. I matter. Someone sees me and cares for me. And someone will come when I need them. If you'd like a visual reminder of just how powerful emotional connection and attachment are, you might look up the still face experiment on YouTube. But a gentle warning. It's hard to watch a child in distress reach for connection and receive nothing back. If you're a parent feeling guilt, pause. Take a breath. The past matters, but it doesn't define you or anybody. Attachment isn't set in stone. It's a living process. We can reconnect, repair, begin again. No matter how old we are, we can rebuild or deepen our capacity for connection. Because connection isn't something we outgrow. It's not something we become immune to. And it's not something success, social status, or money can replace. We need it. Always and unconditionally. It's not something we can turn off. Or pretend as if we didn't need it. Remember, don't strive to be perfect. If you find yourself trying to do things flawlessly or without mistakes, it's likely that shame is still guiding you. There's nothing wrong with you, it just means something inside is still longing to feel safe, accepted and loved. So don't aim for perfection. Don't turn this into a performance or a competition. What's needed is presence, for yourself, and for the other. As the psychologist and researcher Mary Ainsworth, who studied children's attachment, said about parenting, "Good enough is enough." And if there were moments when, in your role as a caregiver, you struggled, and if your own emotional needs went unmet, and if there were wounds within you that made it hard to give what you truly wanted to give, then you are truly worthy of all the compassion, love, and understanding there is to receive. Parenting is challenging. And if you haven't received what you yourself needed, it can become even more difficult. And if you add to that the challenges you might be facing in your relationship, with your own parents, with finances, with your health, and maybe your children have special needs, or there have been other challenges too. And when you take all of that into account, it is easy to understand why so many parents are finding it hard, and that they may be very tired and overwhelmed. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness, compassion and caring, forgiveness and healing. It's never too late. We can make a change, and even small differences matter. And we can choose partners who meet us with gentleness, compassion, and care in our emotional needs, and that can truly change and heal us from the inside out. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. You've now reached the end of this section. In the next chapter, we'll begin to explore how you can increase the chance that your romantic relationship becomes something that heals you, instead of the opposite. And if this touched something in you, you're welcome to press the like button, write a comment, or maybe even tell a friend about this handbook.